customers. So the challenge with emerging vendors here is that they tend to focus on every company because they believe that by refining and being selective on which companies they need to focus, this will limit their opportunities. And so instead of defining which clients they have to specifically go after, they actually focus, or they claim that they focus on large organizations, that their products or services are for any large organization. Or also they might say, okay, so we target anyone who needs software development. And the problem here is that you don't want to divert scarce, limited resources trying to sell to everyone, and also creating a product that has to satisfy everyone. Because at the end of the day, if you want to be everything for everybody, then you'll be nothing for everyone, right? So it's important that we define who we're going to go after, the product, who's going to satisfy, and also from a support and account management perspective, we don't want to have clients that have wildly different needs that require completely different things from us, as we're going to see in a minute. So a key path for success here is to focus on those companies that have the biggest need for a product, that have the biggest desire for a product, and those people who are most likely to buy because there is a good fit, right? So in this target segment, for instance, we say these guys would be our actual target segment. Then we're going to have a second group of guys who are going to be the adjacent segment. And we're going to have a third group of guys who are going to be just anyone that finds us. Yeah. So here are people who find us without us looking for them specifically. Yeah. So the target segment is where we need to put the focus on. So we need to do, everything that's on our website, everything that's on our mailing campaigns. If we do campaigns on LinkedIn, if we go to events, it has to be focused on these guys. Yeah. For adjacent segments, we need to make sure, we need to qualify that the needs of these guys, the adjacent segment, are similar to the needs of the target segment. And guess who's responsible for this? Marketing. And this is going to be responsibility of salespeople. So in theory, target segment are going to be people whom we're going to go after with all of our marketing resources. The adjacent segment, it's going to be the responsibility of salespeople to make sure that those guys have similar needs to the target segment. And then there's going to be everyone else, and we and salespeople in here, they need to be pretty strict as well in deciding whether those are guys that we want to go after or not. And a key criteria, a key way of identifying those characteristics for qualification is going to be a criteria that Gardner defines, which has 3 components. Yeah. So the first component, how do we qualify or define that target segment? Yeah, the ideal target segment. Which attributes do we need to take into account? Well, first of all, we need to look at needs, but also we need to go beyond the need to try and find out the desires of those people, the ideal clients for us. And then finally, we can take a look at the fit to see whether our solution is going to be a right fit for those clients or not, or not. Yeah. So the need tries to answer, do they need our products or services? The desire tries to answer, do they want our product or service? And then finally, fit would be, is our product or service a good fit? So from a need perspective, what are the things that we can take a look at? So we can look at different things. For instance, we can look at demographics. So demographics could be things like size or industry and things like that. We can also look at demand drivers. And here we can take a look at things like changing regulations or competitive issues or things like COVID that's accelerating the need for things that weren't so needed before. And finally, we can look at things like business technology, business or technology environment issues, that is basically all technology that needs to be replaced, or things like limited IT resources. Yeah, so people that can't do a certain project because they don't have enough people to do it themselves. Yeah. So that's from a need perspective. From a desire perspective, we need to go behind the need to try and understand if the company is going to be likely to want our product. Yeah. And here we can look at psychographics. So psychographics would be if they are aggressive early adopters or of new technologies, or whether they are too sensitive to price, things like that. Yeah, things to do with the mind and perception of things, not so much with the need. And then another aspect that we can take a look at is the IT approach. And the IT approach takes into account things like, do they have centralized IT or different silos where they create different IT projects? Do they have a controlling CIO who wants to be on top of everything, or do they have a budget and freedom to select different providers and solutions? And how involved the business is in buying technology, for instance. So that's desire. And finally, fit would be things like alignment with their existing technology. Yeah. So technology So what do we mean by this? So what we mean is, if we are selling to an Oracle shop, it is unlikely that they will be interested in BI tools that require Microsoft SQL, a completely different language, for instance. And also things like location is important, because they might want a provider that satisfies certain business hours from a support perspective, or maybe they need particular languages for communicating with this prospect, client, dealing support, and so on. So 3 different attributes: needs, desires, and fit. There's actually a really good example that I think clarifies all of this. So imagine that you're looking for a partner. The need would be, you want to get married because you want to have kids. Yeah, so that's the need. I'm looking for a man or a woman. That's it. Now, the desire would be, what does that person need to be like? So I'm looking for someone who's kind, someone who has certain values, someone who believes in certain things and whatnot. And then finally, the fit in here would be, well, this person needs to live close to where I am, because otherwise it would be impossible to date them and to be with them. And also they need to speak my language, because otherwise it would be very difficult to communicate. Right, so that's the classification. Now, what we need to do, what you actually need to do is, you need to get together with your team in your free time and do this exercise. You need to come up as a team with that ideal client and what that ideal client should look like in terms of the needs that they have, the desires that they have, and the product fit. Yeah, and you need to think as a group, who's most likely to need our product, who's most likely to want our product, and then what where is the best fit. Yeah, and so what we recommend that you guys do here is that you select someone from product, someone from marketing, and someone from sales. One person is enough. And you could use post-it notes, and ask each one of them to populate one need, one desire, and one fit. And then once each one of you have done that, you should take turns, paste those post-its on the wall, and take turns and explain that need, that desire, and that fit in no more than 5 minutes. Yeah, a couple of minutes per post-it is enough. And then say you have 3 people, 15 post-its on the wall. You need to discuss as a team and select the 2 needs, the 2 desires, and 2 fits that best represent your ideal client. And once you have done that, boom, you will have your target segment very well defined.